Welcome to ReserveIt from BestWave. ReserveIt takes the event calendar from Outlook and turns it into agenda displays for each of your conference rooms. It is completely automatic and requires no change to your current room scheduling. Once you've set your formatting, you leave it running on one computer in the network and forget about it. It can welcome guests and advertise upcoming events by displaying an image file attached to any scheduled event. Best of all, you'll learn everything you need to know in the next few minutes. It's that easy. The first time you run ReserveIt, you'll need to configure a few settings. You get there by clicking the Settings button. There are 3 different Outlook configurations supported by ReserveIt. In this demo, we'll be using a private Outlook calendar, but you may also select a shared calendar or an Exchange server calendar. The next setting determines how many minutes between agenda updates. For this demo, we're going to set it to 1 minute. The default is 10 minutes, but you may choose to set this to whatever feels comfortable to you. The room displays will be pulling the agendas from a web service like Apache or IIS running on this computer or on a server on your network. Put the IP address of that web service in this field. You may choose to have ReserveIt display image files that are attached to an event in Outlook. This is a great way to welcome guests or even advertise an upcoming event. If you do not want images shown, click No. Displays can be programmed to turn off at a specific time and back on again in the morning. We'll set it to turn off at 8 p.m. and back on again at 6 each morning. When you're done, click this button to save your changes and return to the main menu. Let's take a look at the Displays tab. For Exchange server calendars, simply enter the name and email address for each room that you want ReserveIt to work with in these fields. Exchange server knows the rooms by their email, allowing them to be reserved as a resource when a meeting is scheduled. The private calendar configuration works differently. ReserveIt connects with Outlook and pulls a list of locations that have been used in the past several days. This list comes from the Location field in Outlook. It's a good idea to make sure that a schedule item exists with each of the rooms we want to work with. The easiest way to ensure that is to create a few schedule items now. As you can see, we have 3 rooms with scheduled meetings: Boardroom, Conference Room A, and the Cafeteria. We could add these to ReserveIt's list of rooms right now, but notice the tip at the top of the screen. It says to format the display master before adding our first room. That way, each of the rooms we add will be 90% formatted when we add it. That'll save us time. So let's go to the Format tab and do that now. This is the default master format. The first thing to do is select the correct aspect ratio for the display screens we are using. Some displays are 4:3, but most of ours are in 16:9 format, so we'll click this button. Then we choose a background image by clicking in the middle of the screen. There are dozens of background sample images that we can choose from in both 16:9 and 4:3 aspect ratios. Within those, we can select backgrounds that have a narrow margin if we're only displaying the beginning time of our events, or a wide margin if we're displaying both the beginning and end time of our events, or backgrounds without margin lines that will work in either case. Our art department has made a background JPEG in Photoshop that has a wide margin, so we'll select that. The next thing to do is set the fonts and colors so that we can see what everything will look like. Again, our art department has told us what fonts, colors, styles, and sizes to use, so that everything will look great. To change these values, click on each of the font buttons and select the appropriate values. Now we can type the actual title, subtitle, and footer. For the subtitle, we're just going to put in a placeholder because we'll be changing it for each room. In the footer, we'll put the current date. Long means we'll see the day of the week, the month, and so on. And we'll put in the time. Notice the date and time are in brackets. That takes care of our master format. We click on the Save Changes button, and we're done. Let's return to the Displays tab and add our 3 screens. We click on each one to highlight it, then click the Add button. Now we can go back to the Format tab and tweak the format for each room. Since the design of each room is copied from the master, all we need to change is the room name in the subtitle. There's a couple of choices on this screen that we may want to change. The time may be shown using a 24 or 12-hour clock. We'll leave it on 12-hour, which is most commonly used here in the United States. We need to click this checkbox to show the ending time of events. That lets everyone know when the room will be available again. This button tells ReserveIt that events should be taken off the agenda once they are over. Click on Save and we're done. At this point, we can simply leave ReserveIt running, and our agenda displays will get updated automatically. But, being curious, we want to see what some of our agendas actually look like, so we head over to the View tab. Here, we can select any of our displays and see what the latest agenda looks like. It will update automatically as frequently as we set it to in the settings. The actual displays look like this when mounted on the wall, or they can be mounted flush with the wall using a Best Wave Partners framing system. After mounting, the only other detail is to point the displays to the right place to pick up their updates. If the displays use the SMIL language, media players and LCDs with built-in media players do this, then the content source which is set for each display is like this: http:// then the IP address of the server. Remember that from our settings? Followed by /our content, all in capitals, / and the room name exactly as it appears in ReserveIt. Another / and then index.smil. For web browsers, the only difference is the last 5 characters are .html. We hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of ReserveIt. In fact, with just this much knowledge, you can probably put it to work today in your own company. Download the free 30-day trial and give it a go.